when you fail, it's really not failure unless you give up. And it gives you strength to move on. I'm a big believer in improving my own life, my personal knowledge, and I really train my mind every single day.
Live from soggy Southern California, at least Irvine, California, this is Bill Wooditch, and you're on the station, the show, the channel. It's going to teach you how to move forward in spite of obstacles. Welcome to the Unstoppables. This man today, Charles Rashid, has faced so many obstacles, but he wasn't deterred. He was motivated. He was inspired. Yeah, he lost money, but by losing money, he learned how to make money. He must be a person who needs no sleep because he has multiple industries he's involved in, multiple different types of companies he runs. He's got some with annual revenues, congratulations, in excess of $100 million. From Charleston, West Virginia, Charles Rashid, welcome to the Unstoppables.
Thank you, Bill. It's great to be here.
Probably one of the most disjointed but best intros I've given. So I'm pat myself on the back. I'm just patting myself on the back. You got a little bit of snow, right?
We do. We got about a half inch on the ground. It's soggy and cold.
Tis the season, baby. Huh? It is the season where you are. Usually this is an anomaly for us in Irvine. I see the skies breaking through. You know, I'm thinking about the Stones, give me shelter, storms threatening, but not for very long. So it doesn't ever rain in Southern California. When it does, it doesn't really pour. It's about a half an inch, quarter inch. We think it's a tsunami. It's just the way it goes.
I love all four seasons. So.
I'm going to dive into some stuff with you because you've got a really interesting background. You've got so much depth. And when I get into your book, we're going to go after some stuff in real depth. But take me from 30,000 feet down to a ground level. Where did you start? How did you start? Who are you?
Okay.
Who are you?
Born and raised in Charleston, West Virginia. I come from an upper middle class family. My dad's a doctor. All my siblings are doctors. My cousins are doctors. I am not a scholar, so I kind of just screwed around until after college. And then I got serious, and I'm like, oh, crap, I can't just ask my dad, hey, how much did you make? Give it to me. So real quick.
Let me jump in on something right now.
Yeah.
All of that lineage, all the doctors, you have a special bar that you thought you had to exceed to please or to maybe, let's say, fit into the family tree?
I did, and I think that's part of my motivation because I kind of feel like I have a chip on my shoulder. I got to prove something because I'm the not doctor. I was in pre-med. It was kind of expected, but it wasn't my dream. It was my parents, my grandparents' dream. So one day I'm in biology class, and I just thought to myself, this isn't for me. So I got up and left, changed my major to marketing.
You know, I have a top producer here, one of the top producers in the industry. And he comes from a family of attorneys. And the expectation was, you're going to be an attorney. Did the same thing you did. Went to law school, and one day said, you know what? It's just ain't for me.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he got out of it, went into the financial services industries, and I was able to catch him. So for me, you know, and I think that we all have to find our own way. Yeah, I think you agree with that. And certain things we try to do to please other people, sometimes we're missing the person we have to please the most, and that's the one in the mirror, us. And I had the same chip, still have that chip. Maybe it's now maybe a little pebble, where I had to validate myself and prove myself to others. So don't want to interrupt you because you got a good flow going on. You're the not doctor.
Right, no problem. But part of that it's in my mind, but it does drive me to go that extra mile and outwork everyone else. And I'm not afraid to work, and I'll do the crap jobs, whatever it is. Even though I have hundreds of employees, I'm not afraid to, pick up trash, do whatever it takes, wash a car, clean a room. So I wrote a book called "If Winning Were Easy, Losers Would Do It." It's on Amazon, and it talks about the 30 years of my obstacles, overcoming my failures. I'm a big believer in when you fail, it's really not failure unless you give up. And it gives you strength to move on. And I'm a big believer in improving my own life, my personal knowledge, and I really train my mind every single day. I believe that's where it starts in everything.
Mindset, as they call it. But that is where it starts, because what you're saying, and I'm going to replay this for you. I just wrote a book called Fail More, which is with McGraw-Hill, comes out the next quarter, first quarter next year. And Fail More is about a mindset as well, because what you said about, it reminds me of Churchill, never ever give up. When you quit, you're done. But you've got to be able to learn the lessons of failure, or you're going to keep repeating failure. You're going to, no matter what your mindset is, you're going to become disappointed, and you're probably going to withdraw from the field of play. But when that mindset is forward, understanding that life's a laboratory we can learn from, apply those lessons. Hey, we might be in the wrong business. You might be going after, you might want to be a doctor, but you don't really have that, I don't want to say skill set, but you don't have the aptitude for it. I couldn't be anything other than what I'm doing right now. Thankfully, people pay me to do this. Because if not, I'd be helping you pick up the trash. I'd be the guy picking up the trash. I just couldn't do it. So I think we have to find our own way in that way. And I think failure is an indispensable teacher if you're a student of success. So you've got myriad businesses. Tell me about these businesses.
So I am in the car business. I have currently a Mitsubishi store and a couple of buy here, pay here's in the used lot, and I'm building another Mitsubishi store. I have been a Chevy dealer, a Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealer, Suzuki dealer. My biggest failure came in the car business. I bought a Chrysler Dodge Jeep store in 2007. Never been in the car business before. I believe jump in and figure it out. And they filed bankruptcy 2 years later and basically just said, you know what? Sorry, you're out of business. And I could have just gone and cried in the corner, but instead I bought another dealership. And then 3 years later, that was a Suzuki dealership. They filed bankruptcy, pulled out of the country, and then I bought a Mitsubishi store. So I agree with you 100%. Failure is almost something that you have to succeed. And I always learn from my mistakes.
Yes.
It makes me a better operator, a better employer, all around better person, because I think through, in the car business, we have franchise laws that protect us. And I always said in the back of my mind, even if I hate this business, if I don't like it, if I suck at it, I can sell it and get out. Little did I know they could hide behind the bankruptcy laws and make what I thought was impossible possible. So I always now, before I go into anything, what's the exit strategy? What's the second use for it? What's the third use for it? It's important. If my plan going in doesn't work, what could be another plan?
We are kindred spirits here, because you always have to know your worst case going in. You have to know what winning is, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it really is. I mean, tangibly. You also have to know your worst freaking case and have a strategy to address it. That is Wooditch 101 that I teach here. It's in my book, so somebody must have given you the manuscript. No, we're thinking alike, because some people they're diving off a cliff. They don't have a parachute. You better have a backup, and you better have packed it. So you got to know your worst case. By the way, we've got a friend of ours. I think we both talked with Credit Carl. And
oh, yeah.
He likes your shirt, but he loves my jacket.
Yeah.
So how you doing, Credit Carl? He likes your shirt, but he says the jacket's mine.
Well, the jacket's pretty cool.
I'll keep digressing with you all day long. Now I'm going to dive into your book, and I'm going to have to ask some tough questions, although I do like it. I do like it. Oh, by the way, speaking of parachutes, you're a licensed pilot.
I am.
Entrepreneurs, that the sky really is the limit.
Yeah.
Instrument rated?
CFI, II, commercial multi.
You mentioned acronyms that I don't have a clue.
So I am a certified flight instructor. I am a certified instrument instructor. One of the reason I got my pilot's license, I started when I was 16. My mom was scared to death of flying. I mean, she prayed in Arabic and grasped the armrest the entire flight. She's from Canada, so we flew up there every year. And at the time, it was 4 flights to get from Charleston to Montreal. And I didn't want to have that fear. So the only way I knew to overcome it is understand it. And so I learned the physics of flying and how to fly, and not to be scared of it because I understood it.
Well, one of the things about this show, one of the things about me is you really never know what I'm going to say. I don't ever know what I'm going to say until it comes out of my mouth. It's almost like okay, that's what I said. Let me see if I can backtrack or let me go forward. A strange aside, because you're mentioning something about fear, is to go right after it and dominate that major fear, because the rest of them are pretty easy. I read this book by a guy named Gordon Liddy. And Gordon Liddy was famous for Watergate. He was the main plumber in that whole Watergate experience. And his book was called Will. And he had this major fear of rats. Major. He's just scared. He just couldn't move. He was almost petrified of rats. Caught it, ate it, never had the fear again. Now, I wouldn't say you have to eat the rat. Did actually cook it. I wouldn't say you have to eat the rat, but you have to go after the fear. Or you run from one thing, you'll run from all things.
Yeah. So one thing you said was understanding, the worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. Same applies to fear. If you fear something, in your mind, go through what it is that if that thing happens, whatever you're scared of, what's the worst outcome?
That's right.
And then once you know the worst outcome, you can deal with it because that's the worst case.
Everything else is upside. Upside is easy to drive. It's the downside you got to protect yourself from. And I firmly believe that. Tell me the scariest moment you had in a plane.
So I was flying to a auction in the clouds. It was a cloudy day. I had a first-time passenger with me, and we're at about 4,000 feet, complete clouds. All of a sudden, it feels like we hit something. And the plane is shaking like extremely bad. Like I can barely read the instruments. I didn't know what it was. I thought it might be some icing. So I have a buddy with me that's a pilot also, and we have headsets on, and we're arguing back and forth what we think it might be. I turn around and I tell my passenger, I'm like, look, something is wrong with the engine. We're going to be fine. There is a cow field right below us. We're going to walk away, but we might have to set down there.
You said all of that. Something's wrong with the engine. Cow field. We might be a little left up, but we're going to make it.
We're going to walk away. Don't worry. So he didn't have the headset on, so he didn't know what was going on. So I go back to arguing with my buddy. We circle for like an hour. We're in West Virginia, so it's pretty hilly, and we couldn't climb enough to go over the hills without being in the clouds. So finally, after about an hour of this, shaking horribly, another pilot comes in and said, okay, the interstate's clear. If you can just get over the mountain, at least you can land on the interstate. So we did that. Fire trucks, the newspaper, the TV stations were all there. And our passenger actually texted everybody in his phone and said, going down in a plane, I love you. We turned it into a marketing thing, put a pitch in for the dealership. But that was probably the scariest moment I had.
Now, okay, we're talking about fear. We're also going to have to talk about intelligence. I would have walked away from that, and I would have never, ever gotten back in a plane where I was the pilot.
So
that would be me.
Being a pilot, that's really what they teach you. It's all about managing the emergencies and how you deal with it, getting your mind right. So you're always looking for a landing spot. You understand that there's a checklist you have to go through. There's always a procedure. And that's what they teach you from day one. What happens if the engine quits right here? What are you going to do? And you practice emergencies.
So it's anticipation and not expectation so much, but anticipation, playing it through in your mind and visualizing things before they happen, the worst case that could happen, which I think is a great mindset to adopt as you move forward in life.
Yeah. I have a podcast, by the way, I'm launching. It's called The Success Mindset.
The Success Mindset. When do you launch?
First of the year. It'll be on iTunes.
Okay. Speaking of life, you have a book. If winning were easy, losers would do it. A no-nonsense guide to winning in every aspect of life.
100%.
You know where I'm going with this. I'm going to tell you where I'm going with this.
Okay.
How in the hell can you win in every aspect in life? Let's start there first.
Well, it starts with your mindset.
Okay.
It starts with planning, controlling your day, making a conscious decision about how the outcome is going to be before you start it. Like an example, if my wife comes at me and yells at me, I can either decide to fight with her and argue with her, or I can say, you know what, what's the outcome I want from this? So I can control my emotions and understand it's not going to get me anywhere to argue with her. She's probably right. So from the beginning, just consciously thinking about it. Now, I'm not saying that things aren't going to happen bad to you. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you handle it.
That's true.
And that is really, I live my life by that. 2 years ago, my dad retired at 80 years old. And he tells me, he said, I've worked my entire life. I wake up one day and I'm 80 years old. And that hit home to me. And I'm like, I'm on that same path. I don't want that for me. My dad loved his life. He's still living. He still goes to work every day, puts a 3-piece suit on and goes to work. But it was his job, his dream, his passion, his life was taking care of other people's eyes. He's an ophthalmologist. And so I shifted everything I do when he said that. And I really try to live. I'm very grateful for everything I have. I do well. I have a beautiful family. I have a great relationship with my wife. I can travel when I want. I have a number of different industries we didn't get into, but I have key partners and employees in every one of them that can run the business better than I can. So I don't have to be there. I have developed a life that I can remove myself from the business, work on it instead of in it, and grow and expand.
Another similarity, because I want to be redundant here. I want to be able to go away to Australia for 3 weeks and not worry about this place. And I build it over time so I can do that. At first, I had to be the key that everything went through. And at the end of the day, you end up being a slave or being tethered to that thing that you loved at one time. And now you're the servant to that thing which you at one time loved and now you loathe. So you have to find that time to be able to get out, get free, be free, and have the flexibility. I love that because that's life.
It takes
2 things that make you different. If I'm going to assess this, 2 things. You have a high degree of awareness. You also have an ability to channel that awareness into an action because so many of us react. Wife comes home, we want to be right. We start arguing. I don't know about this. I don't have a wife, but we start arguing, just bullshit here. We start arguing. It's about who's right. And that thing just starts to spiral in a negative fashion from there. You have awareness and you also have that ability to control your emotions. Those are 2 things, my friend, that are rare today.
Well, thank you. That doesn't happen all the time. That's what I shoot for every day and how I try to live. Obviously,
you have low blood pressure probably from that.
No. I run hard all the time, but I do try to live by that motto. And not necessarily, the wife's probably a bad example. In any situation, I had a real estate deal recently. The guy's a judge and he starts like screaming and cussing me out, and I just kept my calm. And I think we're going to work it out. This was 4 weeks ago. I'm ready to file a lawsuit against him. He calls me yesterday out of the blue wanting to work something out. So I never raised my voice, never got upset with him. I just stated the facts. And, what's the point of getting upset about it?
You ever notice how unnerving other people, it makes other people when you're calm and they're screaming because they want to raise that decibel level, then they want to raise the angst level. And when you stay calm, it kind of disarms them. You ever notice that?
I learned that when I first got in the car business, when you have, or any business, when you have a really angry, upset customer, maybe something that they had everything to do with, it has nothing to do with anything you did, you let them talk as long as it takes them to vent and just sit there and agree with them and understand, it solves itself most of the time.
You know what I learned? We had an account executive that's working on a large account, came to me and said, look, I can't make this guy happy. He's horrible today. He's upset with me. I said, look, you ever think about things that happen in his life that have nothing to do with us and what we do? I said, for instance, maybe the dog went to the bathroom on the carpet, right? So I called the guy, Bill, what's going on? He said, you know what? My dog Molly just had diarrhea all over I swear I'm not making that up. But you don't know what other people are bringing to the table that have nothing to do with what you're selling, what you're promoting, what you're providing. you just don't. And they're bringing all that negative stuff with them. And it's just kind of like I'm going to purge. And you're the guy that's my object of the purge. Did you get negative feedback on the title of your book? I love the title of your book. But if winning were easy, losers would do it. I mean, that's a harsh one, baby.
No, I haven't. I've actually, everybody loves it. So
you don't think we're winners, right?
Yeah, it's not making fun of losers. It's really what it's about is winners are willing to do things that losers aren't.
Absolutely.
And so, things can be hard in business and in life. They might be simple, but they're hard to do. Thinking is hard. And it's really just about if you don't give up and you persist and you have passion and it's something that's really important to you, I believe that you will succeed. And that's what I just talk about how I've succeeded in my life and how I overcome obstacles, which seem to happen more and more.
Well, the more you do, the more you're going to face. It's just like, you can go backwards or try to stay the same, but life doesn't support stasis. That's been my line since I wrote my first book, Always Forward. That sounded like a commercial, didn't it? Yeah. I'm not going to say you're putting people in a box of losers. I'm not going to do that. But if you were going to make a demarcation, you're going to draw a line, what are the traits that would make a departure from a winner to a loser? What are those defining traits for winners, and what are the traits that losers have?
So thinking positive, desire, goal setting, persistence is probably the most important, in my opinion. Gratitude, focus, and action. It's just, I believe that if you have all those things, so if you set a goal, and it's got to be something that you want, not anybody else, it's important to you, then that gives you the burning desire and the passion to go after it every single day. You write it down, it subconsciously is set in your mind. So every day, even if you're not thinking about it, you're subconsciously going in the direction of your goal.
You are going to allow me to segue into the next question. How do you define success in your terms, not societal terms? How do you define it?
To me, it is having a group, a loving family, a great relationship with family and friends, being able to do what I want, when I want. I'm fortunate that I've never been homeless. I've never been hungry. So I understand there are some obstacles that people have to overcome that may be greater than mine, but there's other obstacles that come with having a little bit of success growing up because it makes you uncomfortable, first of all, and that makes you lazy. But and where I'm trying to shift now is to making a difference in this world and helping other people. I've lost the word, but making a difference in other people's lives. That's my idea of success.
The highest form of legacy, right?
Absolutely.
Highest form of legacy. What do you consider your biggest failure? We touched on this a little bit, but what did you learn from your biggest failure? What was it? And what did you take away and then say, okay, I got it?
So it was probably the buying the Chrysler store, and then everything out of my control, I lost it. And I actually am still in a lawsuit over it 10 years later. This is the time when 789 Chrysler dealers lost their dealership and 3,200 GM dealers lost their dealership back in 2009. And what I learned from it was that you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you handle it. And I also learned that every time I go into a business, I'm going to figure out what I think is impossible, that it's not even possible for that negative thing to happen. It could happen, and if it does, how am I going to handle it?
It's the way to keep yourself away from surprises, right?
Absolutely.
We probably had a ton of them, but what is your one? If you could just pick one real defining moment, that moment where it just took the axis of your life and just took it off in a whole nother direction, what would that one moment be that defined Charles Rashid?
It was probably losing that dealership, but I think what really changed my my life and direction is my dad saying that one sentence. I worked my entire life, and then I woke up and I was 80. And that really hit home to me. It's like, I don't want to do that.
I think we can learn from other people as object lessons of what we want and don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And because if we're caught up in our own lives, we're always running, we're running a race that's like a hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill is we're chasing more, but we're on a treadmill. So we're just going to collect more things. So the things that were at one time are necessities, right? Or luxuries now become our necessities. And we're on this treadmill to compete with the Joneses, to compete with the Rashids. And we're on this treadmill. We never find happiness. We wake up one day, life's gone by, we're 80 years old.
Yeah.
And we haven't really enjoyed life. We've had material success, but we haven't had that intrinsic happiness that comes from living life.
So that leads me into something. I have an Instagram Live every morning called Daily Success Rituals. And about 2 years ago, I'm on Instagram Live, Real Charles Rashid. I started around this same time controlling my morning and my day, focusing on the important and not the urgent. And basically what I do is I am grateful. I sit on my porch, watch the sunrise, or in the wintertime, I sit in this sunroom, watch the sunrise, drink my cup of coffee, just give thanks for what I have, who I am, what I have coming in my life. And then I review my goals. I make sure my daily, weekly, monthly, 5-year, 10-year goals. And then I focus, what am I going to do today that is going to get me towards that goal? I'm not going to just put fires out all day.
Yeah.
And then I do some exercise, sometimes it's longer than others. This morning I was at the gym for an hour with my daughter. And then I'll listen to a motivational tape or I'll read something motivational. I stopped the negativity in my life. I don't watch the news. I don't read the paper. I try not to have any negative things in my life. And it's really changed my life. And sometimes I'll take 2 or 3 hours in the morning, and I meditate a little bit too, which really for me just consists of me clearing my mind, listening to my breathing, watching the snow fall or a rain fall or a leaf blow in the wind. And when I started doing that, I really started making strides on what's important and what's going to change my life in the future. And that's something that really, it almost is something that you would think would do the opposite. I used to wake up, drink a cup of coffee, take a quick shower, run my kids to school. I'm running late for school, and then I'm late for a meeting, and all day I'm rushing. I'm frustrated. I'm upset. I'm stressed out. I don't get stressed out anymore. And I believe it's because I take that time in the morning. This morning I turned my gas fireplace on and I sat in our living room in the dark for 25 minutes when we got back from the gym while my kids got ready for school. And it's just really focusing on, all right, what do I have? I have a lot going on. I'm in the real estate business, commercial and residential. We have a number of hotels. I'm in the manufacturing business, metal roofing. We have 2 plants. And then the car business, and my wife has some stuff she's got going on. My kids ride horses all the time. And so I have a very busy life. I'm building a new dealership, and I'm working on a big mini storage complex in another city. And but I don't get stressed out anymore. I'm not in a rush. I'm not behind, and I'm making more strides towards things that matter for my future and my family's future because of that.
You mentioned something that I have in my book as well. So like I said, somebody leaked the manuscript to you. Well, maybe I stole yours. Maybe I stole a page out of your playbook. Yeah. Knowing the difference between what is urgent and what is important. Other people will bring things to you that it's urgent to them, but it's not important. So that's a key thing you talked about. Just give me a little more about important versus urgent, because I think people really need to get this.
So one thing that comes to mind recently was I had my a business tax return due. I had about a couple of days left, but I wait till the last minute because we have a lot of K-1s coming in and multiple different companies. And I had an application to fill out from Mitsubishi for a new point I'm getting, which it means they're giving me a new dealership. in the big scheme of things, being a little late on a tax return compared to getting a new dealership, there's no comparison. So I put the tax return to the side. I got it done on time, but it was a choice that I had to make that day. You know, the application is 2 inches thick, and it's a lot of detail and a lot of work, and I'm the only one that could do it. I try to focus on that all the time. What is going to get me a return?
Yes.
I actually schedule time. Sorry to interrupt you.
No. It's part of your awareness factor, which you have a high degree of awareness. The other thing is this: people procrastinate. They put things off, and all of a sudden what was once, important becomes now urgent. So it's not only important, it's urgent because they put themselves in a bind, in a position where now they have to make it urgent. I kick those people out of my office and make them fix their own things. You've got so much substance. I want to go slow through this. You've mentioned a couple places, but where can we find you? Where can we find your book? I see I think it's a 5-star on Amazon.
Yeah, it is. I was very fortunate. It went to #1 in 2 categories and #2 in another category. Amazon, if you type in "if winning were easy, losers would do it," it'll come up. This is it. That's like a plug too. I'm also on Instagram /real Charles Rashid. On Facebook, Charles Rashid. That's, I'm just getting into the social media stuff. I'm probably a decade behind where I should be.
You'll catch up fast. You'll find it a necessary evil. You'll catch up fast.
You mentioned something about procrastination. I think that's probably, and I struggle with this. Everything I'm saying is what I strive for, and a lot of times it's difficult. It's hard to push yourself, but procrastination is probably the biggest success killer there is.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the word action before. You got to go out there and do something. You're never going to be, in my estimation, fully prepared. Just get out there and figure it out on the fly. Everybody wants this recipe. Get out there, get engaged. Things will happen that you don't expect. Be able to adapt and keep freaking moving forward. Kind of sounds simple, but it ain't that simple, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Let me ask you this, unfortunately, because I have learned a lot from you, and I'm actually going to buy your book.
Awesome, thank you.
I know you're not going to send me one, but I'm going to buy one, and I want you're going to buy mine. If you could write one paragraph, Charles, give me one paragraph that you could write about what you've learned from your experiences, life experiences, business experiences, that you would share with others as part of your legacy, what would that paragraph sound like?
Wow, that's a hard question.
Saved it till last.
Paragraph about my legacy. I think that you have to do what's important to you. You can't do what anybody else expects or wants from you. I think you got to do the right thing. Never push the ethics. I think that's important. Treat people, no matter what stage they are in life, as a human and with respect. Some people don't deserve it, but let them prove that to you. Always do the right thing. Help others. And don't be afraid to take action and work hard. I mean, that's the key, is first get it right in your mind.
Mindset. Charles Rashid, unstoppable for so many reasons, myriad reasons. #1, he's got the right mindset. #2, he's got awareness. #3, he can act on that awareness. He controls what he can't control. He understands what he can't. He's able to take time and actually smell the roses. He actually takes time. He knows what's important, what's urgent, takes time with his family. And he has seen life at 80 by looking at his father, and does not want to become that person who did not enjoy his life and life just went by. You are a magnificent guest. You're a font of knowledge. You're someone we can all learn from. And it's been my honor and pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Enjoyed it.